The awakening beneath. In a galaxy teeming with advanced civilizations, humans were considered little more than cosmic newcomers. The Galactic Confederation, an alliance of 17 dominant species, relegated humanity to the fringes of importance. Admiral Orion Blackwood had spent 30 years listening to alien diplomats speak down to him, their translators barely concealing the condescension in their voices. Humans, Ambassador Drellick of the Vesperian Dominion had once told him, multifaceted eyes glittering with disdain, are like children playing with toys they barely understand. The Galactic Confederation measured power in millennia, not centuries. Species like the crystalline Lumerans had been space-faring for over 50,000 years. The gaseous Etherian collective claimed records dating back 200,000 years. Against such ancient powers, humanity's few thousand years of recorded history seemed insignificant. Today, Admiral Blackwood stood in the operations center of Lunar Command, staring at the holographic display of Earth's solar system. His weathered face reflected the blue glow of the projection, deepening the lines around his eyes. Director Lydia Nakamura, head of Earth's Xenoarchaeology Division, pointed to an anomaly near Neptune's orbit. It happened again, Admiral. The signal pulsed for exactly 3.7 seconds, then disappeared. Blackwood nodded slowly. Just like the others. For 6 months, mysterious energy signatures had been appearing throughout the solar system. The Confederation attributed them to natural phenomena, but Blackwood knew better. Something was awakening. Dr. Nakamura, what have you found at the Siberian site? He asked. The director's expression changed. You should see for yourself. 3 hours later, Blackwood descended into the depths of the Siberian excavation site. The massive cavern, hidden 2 kilometers beneath the permafrost, had been discovered accidentally during mining operations. What they found defied explanation. Dr. Viktor Petrov, the site's lead researcher, greeted them at the entrance to the main chamber. Admiral, we've made significant progress since your last visit. As they walked deeper into the cavern, the walls transitioned from rough stone to a material that seemed to drink light. It wasn't metal, wasn't ceramic, wasn't anything human science could categorize. And then they turned the corner. The vessel, if it could be called that, stretched nearly a kilometer in length. Its surface was midnight black, absorbing the powerful spotlights directed at it. No seams, no rivets, no visible propulsion systems. Just a monolithic shape that somehow suggested movement even in stillness. We've dated it, Petrov said quietly. The results can't be right, but we've confirmed them 12 times. How old? Blackwood asked, already suspecting the answer. Minimum age, 27 million years. Admiral, this predates human evolution by a vast margin. Blackwood approached the vessel's hull, stopping a few meters away. The surface seemed to ripple slightly, like water disturbed by a gentle breeze. Have you been able to access it? Dr. Nakamura shook her head. No conventional methods work. Drills break, lasers are absorbed. But yesterday, something changed. She led into a section where the wall of the vessel had shifted. Not opened, not moved, but reconfigured. A passage now existed where solid material had been before. It happened after the last signal from Neptune. We believe they're connected. They? Blackwood asked. There are more, Petrov said, his voice barely above a whisper. We've detected similar structures buried beneath the Mariana Trench, the Antarctic ice sheet, the Gobi Desert, and 7 other locations, all showing signs of activation. Blackwood's comm unit chirped. Admiral, this is Lunar Command. We're detecting unusual activity from the Confederation outpost on Mars. They're scanning Earth with unprecedented intensity. They know, Blackwood muttered. Somehow they know. Dr. Nakamura glanced nervously at the passage. Admiral, there's something else. Last night, one of our researchers, Dr. Jameson, went inside. Without authorization? He claimed he heard voices. We found him this morning. Blackwood felt a chill run down his spine. Is he all right? Physically, yes. But he keeps repeating the same phrase. The Guardians are awakening. The Harbingers approach. Blackwood stared at the dark passage. I need to go in. Admiral, with all due respect. This isn't just about Earth anymore, Blackwood interrupted. If the Confederation learns about these vessels before we understand them, they'll take control. Humanity will lose whatever advantage we've stumbled upon. Inside the vessel, the walls seemed to generate their own subtle illumination. The corridor stretched ahead, curving gently. No right angles, no straight lines. Everything flowed organically, as if the ship had been grown rather than built. as Blackwood moved deeper, accompanied by Dr. Nakamura and a single security officer, Lieutenant Rashid. The air grew warmer. There was a scent he couldn't identify, something ancient yet somehow familiar. The architecture doesn't match any known species, Nakamura whispered. Not even the extinct ones we've studied. They reached a chamber that opened to a vast space. In the center floated what appeared to be a control console, though it bore no buttons or screens. Just fluid shapes of varying colors, pulsing with internal light. Lieutenant Rashid checked his scanner. Sir, I'm detecting minute traces of radiation. Nothing dangerous, but unusual. Blackwood approached the console. As he did, the colors intensified, patterns shifting more rapidly. Something was responding to his presence. Admiral, Nakamura's voice was tense. Look at this. On the wall, symbols appeared, not projected, but forming within the material itself. They shifted, rearranged, as if trying to find a language the humans could understand. Finally, they settled into recognizable letters. Guardian vessel Helios active. Query, authorization? It's communicating, Nakamura breathed. But how does it know English? It doesn't, Blackwood realized. It's reading us somehow. Before he could say more, his comm unit burst with frantic messages. Admiral, the Confederation Council has called an emergency session. They're demanding Earth's immediate explanation for what they're calling hidden weapons of mass destruction. 3 battlecruisers have entered Earth orbit. Blackwood stared at the console. Humanity's secret was out. The vessels, the Guardians, had been discovered. And now everything would change. The symbols shifted again. Threat detected. Guardian network activation sequence initiated. Prepare for revelation. And with those words, every one of the ancient vessels buried around Earth began to stir. Whispers among the stars. The Confederation battlecruisers hung in Earth's orbit like massive predatory birds, their hull designs reflecting the evolutionary paths of their creators. The Vesperian vessel resembled a crystalline hive, while the Lemurian ship pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. The third ship, belonging to the Etherian collective, was barely visible, a distortion in space wrapped in translucent membranes. On the bridge of the Terran diplomatic vessel Concordia, Admiral Blackwood faced the holographic projections of 3 Confederation representatives. Explain yourselves, human, demanded High Sovereign Tzjelvax of the Vesperians, his mandibles clicking with agitation. Our sensors detect ancient technology activating across your planet. Technology you have no right to possess. Blackwood maintained his composure. With respect, High Sovereign, we only recently discovered these artifacts. We're as curious about their origins as you are. Deception, hissed Archon Lumira, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed rage. Your species has been concealing these weapons. Not weapons, Blackwood corrected. We don't know what they are. The third representative, a swirling mass of gases that formed and reformed into approximate facial features, spoke in a voice like distant thunder. I am Elder Void of the Etherian Collective. Our archives contain references to vessels similar to what we detect beneath your world. They belong to the Precursors, a civilization that vanished millions of years before any current species achieved sentience. This was news to Blackwood. If you have information about these vessels, we would welcome the knowledge. The information is classified beyond your species clearance, Elder Void replied dismissively. Humanity's status in the Confederation grants you no access to precursor archives. Blackwood's patience thinned. Then perhaps you should reconsider our status, given that these precursor vessels chose Earth as their resting place. The statement silenced the representatives momentarily. Archon Lumira's light patterns shifted to what might have been concern. You misunderstand, Admiral, Elder Void finally said. These vessels did not choose Earth. They were likely buried there long before humans evolved. Your species is merely an incidental caretaker. Back on Earth, Dr. Nakamura and her team worked feverishly to understand the vessel beneath Siberia. The initial passage had expanded, revealing more chambers and corridors. In what appeared to be a central control room, Dr. Jameson, recovered from his initial shock, worked with neural interfaces that had emerged from the walls. It's like the ship is teaching me, he explained to Dr. Petrov. Not with words, but with impressions. Concepts. It's showing me what it was designed to do. And what was it designed to do? Petrov asked. Jameson's eyes were distant. To protect. To watch. To wait. In the command center above the excavation site, Commander Freya Winthrop monitored global communications. Reports were flooding in from the other vessel sites. All 11 locations showed increasing activity. The vessel under the Mariana Trench is moving, she reported to Dr. Nakamura via comlink. It's rising toward the surface. Same situation in Antarctica, came another report. The ice sheet is cracking. Massive energy signature detected. Commander Winthrop pulled up satellite imagery. The Pacific Ocean near the Mariana Trench was churning, a massive whirlpool forming as something enormous rose from the depths. In Antarctica, great fissures spread across the ice shelf, revealing glimpses of something dark and massive beneath. All Confederation vessels have gone to alert status, Winthrop noted, watching the tactical display. They're charging weapons systems. In orbit, Blackwood received the same reports. Stand down your weapons, he urged the representatives. We don't control these vessels. Aggressive action could trigger unknown defenses. You expect us to allow precursor technology to activate without intervention? High Sovereignty Vax clicked his mandibles in what translated as incredulity. The risks are too great. The risk of attacking is greater, Blackwood countered. A junior officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from all 11 vessel sites. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, in all known languages. The message was simple, repeating across every communication device on Earth and beyond. Guardian Network activating. Phase 1, Revelation. Phase 2, Assessment. Phase 3, Preparation. The Harbinger's approach. In the Siberian vessel, now designated Helios 1, Dr. Jameson gasped as information flooded his mind. They're coming online, he told Dr. Petrov. The Guardians are synchronizing. Guardians of what? Petrov asked. Life, Jameson whispered. All life. The first vessel broke the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Water cascaded from its enormous hull as it rose, revealing a shape similar to Helios, 1 but 4 times larger. Its surface, initially midnight black, began to shimmer with subtle patterns of light. The Antarctic vessel pushed through the final ice barrier, rising majestically into the air without visible propulsion. Others followed, from beneath desert sands, mountain ranges, deep forest floors, and ocean trenches. 11 vessels, each unique in size and specific configuration, but unmistakably of the same origin. They rose to varying altitudes, forming a pattern above Earth that corresponded to no known constellation. In orbit, the Confederation representatives watched in stunned silence. Then Elder Void spoke, his gaseous form swirling in apparent agitation. This changes everything, he said. The Guardians were thought destroyed or dormant forever. Their reactivation can only mean one thing. The Harbingers, Blackwood said, recalling the broadcast message. Yes, Elder Void confirmed. The great enemy. The reason the precursors created the Guardian Network. You said this information was classified, Blackwood noted. Yet now you speak freely. Because classification is meaningless now, Elder Void replied. If the Guardians have awakened, the threat is real and imminent. On Earth's surface, millions watched the sky as the vessels achieved their positions. Then, as one, they emitted beams of light, not weapons, but projections. The beams converged in Earth's atmosphere, creating a massive holographic display visible to half the planet. It showed a star map of the Milky Way galaxy, with a section of the outer rim highlighted. Within the highlighted area, something moved, a darkness that seemed to consume everything in its path. In the Siberian vessel, Dr. Jameson translated the information flooding his mind. The Harbingers, he explained to Dr. Nakamura. An ancient force that consumes civilizations. They hibernated for millions of years in the spaces between galaxies. Now they're awake and approaching. How long do we have? Nakamura asked. Less than a year, Jameson replied. The Guardians were built to detect and combat them. They chose Earth because of our system's strategic position and resources. In orbit, the Confederation representatives had reached a decision. Archon Lumira addressed Blackwood. Admiral, the Confederation hereby elevates Earth's status to full member with immediate effect. The ancient protocols are clear. Those who host the Guardians must be given authority to direct the defense. Defense of what? Blackwood asked, though he already suspected the answer. Everything. High Sovereignty Vax replied solemnly. The Guardians protect not just your world, not just our Confederation, but all life in the galaxy. And now humanity must lead that defense. As the Confederation vessels adjusted their positions from threatening to protective stances, Admiral Blackwood realized humanity's perceived weakness had transformed into unprecedented responsibility. The species once dismissed as galactic newcomers now stood at the center of an ancient conflict about to resume. The Guardians had awakened. The Harbingers approached, and humanity found itself promoted from galactic afterthought to civilization's last hope. Retriclod can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The final stand. 8 months had passed since the Guardians' awakening. Earth had transformed from a backwater planet to the command center of galactic defense. The once empty space around Earth now teemed with vessels from every Confederation species, forming the largest fleet ever assembled in the galaxy's history. Admiral Blackwood stood in the newly constructed Guardian Command, a massive structure built atop Mount Kilimanjaro. Through the transparent dome ceiling, he could see 3 of the Guardian vessels hovering in formation, their surfaces now alive with intricate patterns of light and energy. Status report. He called to the assembled team of human and alien specialists. Commander Winthrop stepped forward. The Guardian network is at 94% synchronization. The remaining vessels are still emerging from deep space hibernation points. Dr. Jameson, now permanently connected to the Guardian interface through neural implants that traced glowing lines across his skin, spoke next. The Harbingers have increased speed. They'll reach the outer defensive line in approximately 17 hours. The outer defensive line was a concept that would have been unimaginable months ago, a massive array of energy barriers and autonomous weapon platforms extending from Neptune's orbit outward, constructed with technology the Guardians had provided. High Sovereignty's Yelvax approached, his normally aggressive demeanor subdued. Admiral, the last of our evacuation ships have departed your system. All non-essential personnel are retreating to the fallback positions. The evacuation had been Blackwood's order, controversial, but necessary. Earth would either be the shield that saved the galaxy or the first casualty of the coming storm. Dr. Nakamura entered the command center, accompanied by Elder Void, whose gaseous form seemed more condensed than usual, a sign of stress among Etherians. We've deciphered the final protocols, she announced. The Guardians were designed as a linked system, but they require a central consciousness to direct their full power. A consciousness? Blackwood asked. You mean an operator? More than that, Elder Void interjected. The precursors designed the Guardians to merge with a living mind, to be guided by the instincts and emotions that pure AI lacks. They believed only organic life had the necessary drive to preserve itself. Dr. Jameson nodded slowly. I've sensed this in my connections. The Guardians have been evaluating us, testing our resolve, our creativity, our will to survive. And Blackwood prompted. They've made their choice, Jameson said quietly. His eyes met Blackwood's. They chose you, Admiral. Silence fell over the command center. Blackwood stared at Jameson, then at the enormous vessels visible through the dome. What exactly would this merger entail? He finally asked. Dr. Nakamura stepped forward. Based on our analysis, your consciousness would link with the Guardian network. You would retain your identity, but gain access to their full capabilities. You would essentially become the coordinating intelligence for the entire defensive system. And the risks? Unknown, Elder Void admitted. The precursors left no record of previous mergers. This technology was their final creation before their disappearance. Blackwood turned to the tactical display showing the approaching Harbinger force, a vast darkness consuming stars as it moved, growing stronger with each civilization it absorbed. How long do I have to decide? The integration chamber is prepared, Dr. Nakamura said. The process would take approximately 6 hours to complete, given the Harbinger's approach. I understand, Blackwood said. He looked around at the faces watching him, human, Vesperian, Etherian, Lemurian, and a dozen other species, all waiting for his decision. Species that had once dismissed humanity as insignificant now looked to a human for salvation. I'll do it, he said simply. The integration chamber was at the heart of Helios, the first Guardian vessel discovered. As Blackwood entered, escorted by Dr. Jameson and Dr. Nakamura, he felt the vessel's awareness like a physical presence. The chamber itself was surprisingly small, an oval space with a single reclining platform at its center. The walls pulsed with shifting patterns of light. Once the process begins, we can't interrupt it, Dr. Nakamura warned. The Guardian will restructure portions of your neural pathways to accommodate the connection. Blackwood removed his admiral's jacket, folding it carefully. Will I still be me afterward? Dr. Jameson's expression was sympathetic. You'll be more than you are now, but yes, your core identity should remain intact. Should. The Guardians value what makes us unique, Jameson explained. They need your human perspective, your experiences, your understanding of life's value. They wouldn't destroy what they need. Blackwood nodded, then lay down on the platform. Let's begin. The sensation began subtly, a tingling at the base of his skull that spread outward. The chamber's lights intensified, patterns flowing from the walls onto his skin, seeping beneath it. He felt no pain, only expansion, as if his mind was stretching beyond its natural boundaries. Images flashed through his consciousness, Earth's oceans, forests, cities, then other worlds, the crystalline spires of Lumira, the atmospheric habitats of the Etherians, thousands of worlds teeming with billions of diverse life forms. He felt their value, their uniqueness in the cosmic tapestry. Then he saw them, the Harbingers. Not ships or beings in any conventional sense, but a corruption of space-time itself, a living darkness that consumed everything it touched, adding distinctive patterns to its own consciousness. It was ancient, patient, implacable. It did not hate life, it simply consumed it as its nature dictated. As his mind expanded further, Blackwood began to understand the Guardians themselves. They were the Precursor's legacy, a defense system designed not just to fight but to preserve, to remember, to ensure life continued even if individual civilizations fell. When the integration completed, Admiral Orion Blackwood opened eyes that now shimmered with internal light. He rose from the platform, his movements fluid and precise. I understand now, he said, his voice resonating with new harmonics. I know what must be done. As he emerged from Helios 1, he saw the remaining Guardian vessels arranging themselves in a new formation, responding to his thoughts rather than explicit commands. The Confederation fleet parted before him as Helios 1 carried him to the command position. Through his expanded consciousness, Blackwood addressed all forces simultaneously. The Harbingers seek to consume. We stand to preserve. Position all vessels according to the patterns now being transmitted. The Guardian network will create a dimensional barrier, but it requires your energy signatures as anchoring points. The fleet commanders followed his instructions without question, positioning their ships in formations that made no tactical sense by conventional warfare standards, but created complex energy patterns across space. As the first tendrils of the Harbinger darkness reached Neptune's orbit, Blackwood activated the Guardian network's primary defense. The 11 original vessels projected energy beams that connected with each Confederation ship, creating a vast web of light throughout the solar system. The Harbingers struck this web and recoiled. For the first time in their ancient existence, they faced resistance they could not immediately overcome. Through the connection, Blackwood felt every impact, every strain on the barrier. He directed the Guardians to reinforce weak points, to adapt to the Harbingers' attempts to bypass the defenses. For 3 days, the battle raged across the solar system. The Harbingers probed, adapted, attacked from multiple vectors. Several Confederation ships were lost when sections of the barrier briefly failed. But the Guardians, directed by Blackwood's human intuition combined with their ancient knowledge, constantly evolved their defensive strategies. On the 4th day, Blackwood sensed a change in the Harbinger consciousness, confusion, then something akin to fear. The consuming darkness began to retreat, pulling back from the solar system. They're leaving, Dr. Nakamura observed from Guardian Command, watching the tactical displays. We've won. Not won, Blackwood corrected, his voice coming through all communication systems simultaneously. They're reassessing. This is only the first engagement in a longer war. As the Harbinger presence faded from the solar system, retreating toward the galactic rim, Blackwood directed the Guardian vessels to new positions. Through his expanded awareness, he identified other strategic systems where additional Guardian vessels lay dormant, waiting to be awakened. The defense of one system is not enough, he announced to the assembled representatives of the Confederation. We must extend the Guardian network throughout the galaxy. Humanity will lead, but all species must participate. The same civilizations that had once dismissed humans as insignificant now looked to Earth with newfound respect. The species they had underestimated now stood as the galaxy's shield against an ancient darkness. Admiral Orion Blackwood, once a mere human diplomat bearing the condescension of advanced species, now carried the legacy of the precursors. Through him, the Guardians would protect all life, not because it was powerful or ancient or technologically advanced, but because it was life, and therefore precious. The war had only begun, but for the first time in its ancient existence, the consuming darkness faced an adversary it could not easily overcome. The unexpected strength of humanity, now amplified by the ancient wisdom of the Guardians of Forgotten Stars.